My name is Jules Kortenhorst. I'm the CEO of the European Climate Foundation. And on my right-hand side, Jörg Haas, Program Director for International Diplomacy. And on the very far right, Bert Metz, former Kyoto negotiator for the Netherlands, member of the IPCC and a fellow of the European Climate Foundation. We start with this diagram, which shows you various pathways of emissions that lead to different climate outcomes. The good news of the meetings this summer in L'Aquila in Italy was that G8 leaders committed themselves to achieving a 2-degree maximum increase in temperatures. Now, a 2-degree outcome, according to the IPCC, which this graph depicts, is more or less in line with a 450 ppm world. And as my oldest son keeps reminding me, Dad, and remember, that is only about a 50-50 chance, a coin toss on our future. So all of our analysis is based on a pathway of 450 ppm, which generates, according to the IPCC, a 50-50 chance on a 2-degree expected temperature increase. Now, in order to move to that 450 pathway, we need to bend the curve of actual emissions. On this graph, the top line is the reference pathway, also known as business as usual. To my business friends, I remind them that business as usual actually doesn't mean there will be any usual business anymore. A top pathway leads to concentrations of CO2 in the atmosphere of well over 600, 700 ppm and is therefore clearly unsustainable. And in order to move to the 450 ppm pathway of the previous graph, we need to bend this curve to the lower one of the two. And that means that by 2020, we need to have reduced global emissions by 17 gigatons from business as usual. And that reduction needs to be 35 gigatons by 2030. Remember that number of 17 gigatons. We'll come back to that. Many of you will have seen this graph before. It is the core of our analytical approach. It depicts McKinsey's global carbon cost abatement curve, in this case up to 2020. Along the horizontal axis, you see the amount of tons of mitigation that we believe is achievable for up to a maximum of 60 euros per ton incremental cost. And each of the bars represents a different lever of abatement. Each bar represents a different opportunity to mitigate climate emissions. On the y-axis, you see the incremental cost of that abatement. And as is obvious, on the left-hand side, the negative costs really represent, therefore,